Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bye Podcast with Raven and Ree. It is our first episode of 2021, so we want to wish everyone a happy new year and hope
Happy
that it
New
was one to
Year.
remember. Yay! First episode of 2021!
First episode, but not our first episode in total. This is our 8th episode,
Yes.
which will be a 3-part series because today we will be talking about the phenomenon that is Midnight Sun.
We've waited.
We waited. Wow, we have a lot to get to.
Yes.
Um,
We do want to point out that if you have not read Midnight Sun, then you probably may not want to be watching this because this is going to be a spoiler-free.
A major spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So if you would like, and you have not read Midnight Sun, go ahead. We have 7 other episodes for you to check out. For your listening and viewing pleasures if you're on YouTube. And then read Midnight Sun in between and then come back to these. Because, and if you don't care about spoilers and you're like, I'm probably not going to read it anytime soon and I want to know, then stick around.
Stick around. You'll get all the juicy details from us.
Yes. So before we get into Midnight Sun, we kind of wanted to talk about our recommendations and Ree's weekly read. So my recommendation for this week, I feel like every episode we have a special announcement, but so Ree and I, my recommendation is that to go follow our new podcast that we're doing on Instagram. On Instagram, it's Extremely Wicked Podcast.
And then Twitter is Very Eerie Pod.
Yes. So our podcast is called The Very Eerie, Extremely Wicked, and Quite Spooky Podcast, hosted by me and Ree and I. Ree and I have discovered through doing this podcast that we're both like crime buffs and we love like not even just crime but like mystery stuff and
paranormal,
you know, Scooby-Doo was our thing growing up. Like
yes. Anybody who loved Scooby-Doo as a kid are now like crime junkies, like mystery junkies.
We are starting this mystery podcast. It's a little different format than this podcast because this podcast we kind of like bring topics every episode and you know just talk freely and whatever comes to mind comes to mind. But this new podcast is going to be kind of more organized, I want to say. We'll be having different seasons. Each season will range from like around 6 or more episodes. And our first season will be about cults. Because let's face it, we're in the biggest cult of them all, the Twilight cult. So I'm surprised that's not one of our episodes, but we could talk about it.
Bonus episode for season 1.
First episode will be about the People's Temple.
The People's Temple was a cult that was around the late 50s to the 70s. If you've ever heard like Jim Jones and the term "don't drink the Kool-Aid," it's that term was and phrase was coined after it because the People's Temple is extremely known as having the incident where 918 people died by drinking cyanide-laced Kool-Aid because as a mass suicide, which when we get into the podcast, we're going to like, uncover the details of the People's Temple because it's like it was said to be this lavish and paradise, but it turns out like behind the doors it was very dark and Jim Jones was not the person who the media portrayed him. So we're gonna get in. That's gonna be like our first episode. We don't want to get into much right now because we're gonna definitely go work the case in our pilot episode, which we're very excited about. I'm very excited about this. So
yes, and the pilot episode will actually be on January 18th. We'll be getting up our Spotify soon that we'll put on our Instagram. So the best place to just probably keep up with us is our Instagram at Extremely Wicked Podcast. And we will see you there. We hope you guys enjoy this new little adventure we're doing. We have so many projects that we've been planning and so many things that we have planned for the future that we hope
Yes.
that you guys are just along for the journey.
Welcome to Ree's Weekly Read. Now, usually we do this segment at the end of every episode, but because of what we're going to be doing with Midnight Sun, it's best if we just do it at the beginning. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see me holding up the phenomenon that broke Stephenie Meyer's website and took Twitter by storm. It's Midnight Sun. Now, this bad boy is 658 pages. Now, it's the longest, I think it's longer than Breaking Dawn, or it's around the same, but it's definitely quite bigger than what Twilight was.
Page count for Twilight is 498. If you're not including the little mine has a little sneak peek to New Moon. I don't know if all of them have that, but
first edition wouldn't, probably, but any editions released after New Moon would.
I do want to say though, because since your weekly read is Midnight Sun, obviously, yes. If you have not gotten the book, Amazon is selling them for $13.
Oh.
And I just want to tell you that that's not how much the book was when we got it.
No, oh my gosh, and like that's another thing. While we're talking about like the price, I think the pre-order was originally like $25.29, and then I think about a couple months later they brought it down because I had pre-ordered on Amazon and it was like 29 something, and then when I looked back again, it was brought down to 17 something.
Yeah, so, well, my husband my husband didn't get it for me for pre-order. He got it for me for, I think it was like an early birthday gift, and I cried when I opened it. Present, like.
I saw that video, and your reaction was so cute, and it was one of the best.
I opened it, and it was actually upside down, and I saw the back of it, and I was like, no, like, you did it. To be prepared for a lot of emotions happening during this, because I finished it literally last night. And I was sending the group chat videos of me crying. I finished it and I was like, okay, like some tears streamed down. I think when I first finished it, it was more like, wow, I finished it. It's over kind of tears.
Yeah.
And then I waited a little bit longer and it was like more than just I finished it tears.
Yeah.
I want to cry thinking about it now. Because I was literally on the toilet, like, contemplating life. I was already done. I was just like, wow, like, what is this? And then I sent them videos of, like, just tears streaming down my face.
Oh, Raven. No, I completely get it, because I was the same. And first of all, let's talk about Midnight Sun. First of all, let's talk about how long we waited. Now, if you've been in the fandom since the beginning, then you know what Midnight Sun is. Now, I didn't find out about Midnight Sun until probably 2017, 2018. I didn't know. And then one of my best friends, who's a big twihard, she was all like, have you read Midnight Sun? And I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's Edward's point of view, but she never finished it. And then I got into it. So just some background about the book for anyone who didn't know, or just to like refresh memory. Midnight Sun was being written back in 2007 and 8 when Twilight was first being filmed, and then it got leaked. She got up to the 12 chapters, chapter 12 of Twilight, like right before the meadow scene, and then it just stops, and it got leaked, and Stephenie Meyer was hurt, and I can understand that because it's all like it's like your work, and it was leaked without her consent, so she ended up putting the project on hold. And then in 2012, I think she was going to come back to it, and then E.L. James, the author of 50 Shades of Grey, which used to be a Twilight erotic fan fiction, she released Grey, which was, Christian's point of view. Yeah. And Stephenie Meyer was like, okay, well, I don't think anybody's going to want it.
Oh my gosh, conspiracy theory.
Oh my gosh, okay, hold on.
E.L. James leaked Midnight Sun.
Yo, no, you know what? I would not be surprised. Okay, EL James, don't come for me, but
Don't sue us, please, because we don't have money
don't sue
like
us.
that. But
Yeah,
like, it would make sense. How would she know to write
yeah. Oh.
a point of
And I think
view?
and I think it was during the time where she was writing 50 Shades. Well, I don't know what it used to be called when it was a Twilight fanfic.
Oh, I have no idea.
Hmm. And then and then and then Stephanie Meyer was in an interview saying, because people were all like, she was in an interview and people were all like, have you finished Midnight Sun? And she did finish it because her mom wanted it. So she had finished it for her mom to read. And then she was like, I just don't know if anybody really wants it. It's been almost 10 years. Like, are they going to really want it? And the interviewer was like, yes, we're going to want it.
So
And
when you said that she finished it for her mom, that reminded me about her book Forever Dawn,
yeah.
and how she finished it and gifted it to her sister. So maybe she just like writes books and gifts them to people.
Yeah, and that's why I'm all like, oh, a new moon from
I know.
Edward's point of view.
Stephanie, we should have Emily from Remember Twilight podcast, because she's friends with Stephanie Meyer. Or they're friends with Stephanie Meyer, and just tell them like, hey, Stephanie Meyer, we would really love a gift from you, and that gift is New Moon and Edward's perspective.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Yeah, I was when I found out that she had finished it for her mom, I was like, oh, that's cute. And then part of me was like, oh, I want it. And
Not even for
then
us. She was like, hey, mom.
I know. And then let's go back. Let's go to the end of April,
Yes.
2020, when I made a video because I had seen a picture of this and I was like, "Oh my god, let me record this. Like let me see if this is true." I made a video on TikTok and it was going to Stephanie Meyer's website and there was this mysterious countdown. And it blew up and like people who were fans of the host and Twilight were like, "Oh my gosh, like." And because it was very like the reviews were mixed. Like a lot of people were all like, "It's not gonna be Midnight Sun. Like
They
she's
thought
not
it was
gonna
going
do
to be
that to
something with
us."
the host, right?
Yeah, because of the stars. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why like the host and Midnight Sun were like the top two theorized books, because it's all like in the Midnight Sun draft there's the reference about like the stars and the sky and that, but then also in the host she makes a lot of references like that. So a lot of people were all like, okay, it's got to be the host. And then other people were like, no, it's going to be Midnight Sun. Or some people were like, it's neither. It's going to be a Jacob Renesmee story, because she had already said she
Yeah.
was working on that. So it was like 4 days till the countdown and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my god. And then it's like we find out that because my friend Riley, who I met on Tumblr when the Twilight Renaissance was popping off on Tumblr before it like got big on
Mm-hmm.
everything else. Um she she watches, and she's I think friends with Emily and them with Remember Twilight, and
Yeah.
she had told me, she was all like, a lot of the Twilight popular blogs and like podcasts and stuff are being contacted by Stephanie Meyer's team to promote this countdown. And then it's also like Freeform and USA were doing Twilight marathons, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, May 4th at 8:30 a.m. I got up and the
Yeah.
website broke down.
Did.
The website shut down. It was broken. Like you could not get into it, and I had to run to Twitter, and that's when I put like I tweeted out. I was like, I can't get into the website. Does anyone know what's happening? And then a lot of people were messaging me and like replying. They're like, it's Midnight Sun. I start
Yeah,
crying.
when the countdown first, I think maybe just the stars thing was poor web
Yeah.
design on maybe her team or something, or maybe that's what they wanted, like people to be confused like that. I would have made it like even more confusing, just put nothing in the background.
Yeah. Oh
Like
my god.
imagine just going to the page and it was just a number, like black screen, just a number,
Just a number counting down. Like, what is
and people would have
this?
been like, "What the heck?"
Like
Imagine the countdown, because it broke down. But imagine if the countdown was like her deleting her website.
Like,
She was like,
they,
you guys
they,
thought.
you guys thought, thanks for 15 years. Oh, and like, I saw the Good Morning America snippet that she announced, and I literally just started crying. Oh my god, I was so emotional. Because, like, 2020 had been such a rough year for everyone, and it was,
Yeah.
middle of the pandemic and quarantine, and it just gave some hope.
When you read, how do you visualize things? Because when I read, I very much have a mental picture of what is happening.
Oh yeah. So if I'm rereading a story that has already had like an adaptation, then I'll think of those people. And so like whenever oops. So like when I read Midnight Sun, I was seeing Rob and Kristen and all the so I very much my head plays it out. And then it's like in other books, I kind of envision people like who I think the character would look like,
Hmm.
and it just makes it easier, and like it makes you like, oh my god, it's like a movie playing in your head, like what's about to happen.
It's really weird because I feel like whenever I was reading it, I was trying to imagine Rob and Kristen, and I feel like I got like some sort of altered version of them, and I
Yeah.
was like the best way that I can describe it is like the actor who played that character and then the the actor who cosplays them in the
Oh
OC, like combining
yeah.
them together is what my brain like
Yeah.
makes them to be, which is
Yeah.
like gorgeous anyways. I mean, they're all like
Oh yeah.
amazing. Actually, I think for Rosalie, I was seeing more of the of I think her name is Bella, right?
Bella Rose.
Bella Rose. I was seeing
Yeah.
her instead
Yeah.
of
Oh, she's
Nikki.
gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Yeah,
Wow.
I envision V as Alice.
Yes, me too.
I and I will because sometimes when I reread New Moon, I kind of envision myself because I relate to Bella so much. I'm like, but mainly it's the like you said the cosplayers or it's like the actors.
Yeah, and then for Edward, for me, it's very much of like a mix. If you were to get Rob and then the actor who plays or the who cosplays as Edward, like mash them together, that's Edward for me, like in my brain. And
Yeah,
the same for Bella, but I feel like I get more Sam sometimes in
yeah.
certain parts.
Shout out to Sam.
Shout out to
We
Sam.
love you. We love you, OC.
We love the
Like,
OC. Okay,
okay.
let's jump into it. So, the first page that we see here with the title page, after the blank title page, is a title page with two statues, black and
Yes.
white.
I believe this is supposed to be a depiction of Hades and Persephone. Because,
Yes,
we have the cover, we have the pomegranate, which is the other forbidden fruit of Hades and Persephone.
that is true. Did you want to read the dedication
Yes.
or okay?
Okay, guys, I'm gonna try not to like get choked up because when I tell you, when I got this book, first of all, I was a mess when I opened it, like how you were. And then I was getting ready to like I didn't touch it for like a good 5 minutes. I was just
Hmm.
staring at it. And then I was like, okay, let's try and crack it open. And then go to the dedication note, saw it, had to stop again. Had to like take another 10 minutes to gather myself cuz it's like so I'm going to read it out. It says, this book is dedicated to all the readers who have been such a happy part of my life for the last 15 years. When we first met, many of you were young teenagers with bright, beautiful eyes full of dreams for the future. I hope that in the years that have passed, you've all found your dreams and that the reality of them was even better than you hoped. And that just hits in the heart. Oh my god, I'm tearing up already cuz it's like you when you read it you think about when you first got into Twilight, especially like if
Yeah,
you've been there since like I was 8 years old, 9 years old. So it's like, oh my
I
god.
know. Yeah, not
No,
yet. We haven't even got into it yet.
I know. I told you the dedication. They're like even like Miss Meyer. I do have some little thingies when it comes to like a lot of thingies, but you really got me there. You really
Yeah.
got me there. Like, why'd you gotta do that? Oh, and I put, when I was trying to tab this book, I put, why do you gotta do this to me, Stephanie?
The first chapter called
Okay.
First Sight. This is where he first sees Bella, right?
Yeah. And, ooh, so let's point out that there are, like, I think 10 plus more, no, yeah. There's, like, 5 or so more chapters than what Twilight was. And a lot of them have the same name as the ones that we recognize in Twilight. So, like, First Sight and Blood Type.
Yes. This is when he first sees Bella. And I love that he already knew, like, through people's thoughts about her. And he was kind of annoyed, right? That, like, people were obsessing over her. He was like, what? Like, it's just another girl. Like,
Yeah.
what's the big deal? Until.
Yeah, until that famous biology scene.
Did you tab anything for chapter 1?
Let's see. So my first tab is literally the second paragraph when he's talking about school, and I put, because I have him, the blue tabs are like Edward brooding or being, typical. So I put already you're complaining, and then I believe,
Oh, yeah, because he called high school purgatory.
yeah, I was like, seriously.
Yeah, in this one, he's pretty, like, just, like, annoyed with like, the humans around him. And then I think
Yeah.
it's so funny that when he listens to Jessica and all of her like, thoughts are just, like, hating on Bella. Like,
Yeah. He points out how fake she is.
oh, yeah. Which we didn't get that fakeness in the movie. Like, she was just kind of, like, semi, kind of, like, fake. Like, you don't
Yeah.
like her that much, but in the books, like, I really don't like her.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And then there's a good chunk just talking about like Jasper and how he's doing, cuz Jasper is still very with the humans. It's funny how, like, in Twilight, Bella describes that when she's looking at the Cullens, it's like they're all looking away from each other, which, let's talk about that. If you're trying to act natural and act human, why are you like this the entire time? And then it's like Edward's the only one talking, because it's like they're talking with their thoughts. Ugh.
Mhm.
I'm like,
I also want to point out on page 9 when he reads Angela's thoughts, and they're so pure.
my queen.
Oh my gosh, she was just like actually worried about her. Like, oh my goodness.
This is a Angela Weber Stan account.
Yes. And then we get literally page 10 is when the whole her walking into the biology lab. And it's so crazy because in this chapter he literally plots ways to how he would murder the entire classroom just to suck her blood.
I know. Oh.
And he was just thinking, look, he literally says here, I knew what would have to happen now. The girl that would have come to sit beside me, and I would have to kill her, on page 11.
Yeah,
He was ready.
Oh my god. And
I really like how in the book he explains like the venom like kind of filling up his mouth like saliva.
yeah.
I really like anytime that he talks about it throughout the book, I'm always just like, I could imagine that, kind of like when someone mentions like food that you want and your mouth waters.
Yeah.
But
you can really play a drinking game with this book, specifically this chapter, with how many times he says monster. He calls himself a monster because he does it twice on page 12, at the beginning, at the end.
he really, because he was really like struggling with himself. Like, I mean, part of him was like, I should not do this, but then the other part was like, I'm gonna murder this entire classroom.
Yeah.
And then, there was also a part here, I think it's pretty 13 maybe, that he was like, I mean, like, thinking about what his family would think. Like, he was like, okay, well, like, Carlisle would be like, disappointed, but like not. He was basically saying that they would not some of them would be a little mad that they had to move away, but they were like, we've done it before, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then this is also the chapter where he like hates her.
Yeah, the amount of despise that we see, all because she smells so good, and it's all like, and it's kind of like I kind of understand where he's coming from at points, because it's all like, you know, he's tried so hard for this amount of years to be good and like
Yeah.
make up for what, you know, I don't care what he thinks, he was doing God's work when he was killing all those people,
Mm-hmm.
but he, you know him, and when we get to that one scene we're gonna talk about it because I have some thoughts. And it's like he just hates her because it's all like this could risk him like that, and I understand, but at the same time I'm like, dude, why you gotta be so like, ugh.
And then his other idea, instead of killing the entire class, was to introduce himself and then walk her to her next class, but then say that he forgot a book in his car and they would go there and he would like kill her in the car, or I don't know if in the car or if in the forest.
We get to the where was it, was it he went, oh yeah, he hid in his he hid in his car.
He hid in his car and played him music that calmed him down. Which,
Oh
like, same.
yeah, same.
I get
And
that.
I like, and then what caught my attention is how he's like, "Where's Alice?" Like, had she seen? Because it's like if Alice saw that he was gonna do something, she would have gotten there as quick as she can.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that like knowing that I think that's what kind of calmed him, and know that he was gonna be fine, was that Alice hadn't gotten to him,
Yeah.
and it's all like, okay, obviously I'm not gonna do something this drastic.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think Alice would have done something from a little thing that she ended up plotting towards the end, um, and planning out that she probably would have came and been like, Edward needs to get out of class, but she
Exactly.
didn't. And then he goes to the receptionist to go change his schedule,
This
and
was the
Bella.
funniest. This was the funniest interaction.
Yeah, so he's really trying to get this lady to change the schedule.
And then, oh my god, and it's like she is so flustered, and I'm like, uh,
The part where she was like, too young, too young.
yeah, like young enough to be my son.
Like, hello, excuse me, Mrs. Cope or Miss Cope.
Mhm.
Um, slow your roll there. Bella walks in, and this is another part where he wanted to kill her because he was like, well, now there's only one person in here, and I could kill her easier. Then he leaves, and he was like, never mind. And then that's when he sees Alice, and she's like, what? And all of them are like, what the heck is wrong with you? And he
Yeah,
literally just like skirted out of there. He
and
said, I'm
then
out.
it's like, so he wasn't gonna do anything right then and there, like during the biology scene, like the biology class, but at the end of chapter 20, at the end of page 21, it's like they're talking, and she's like, "You're leaving because it's that," and then it's like he sees that if he doesn't leave, he will like kill her.
But I really love like a lot of the times they communicate like with their mind. Like he'll talk to them, but then they'll say something in their head to him.
Yeah,
Chapter 1 for Bella is her like why she's leaving Arizona,
yeah,
why she's getting like why she's in Forks, and her little interactions meeting everyone. So this I felt like this one was a lot shorter because obviously we start from like right before the cafeteria scene,
yeah,
and
and
then
then
we get the biology, and then like right after when right when he leaves. So
yeah.
it's a lot. This chapter to me goes a lot um faster than the first chapter in Twilight.
Edward's definitely that character who I think has a constant like battle with his mind, which is why like Midnight Sun is so like is 200 pages longer than what Twilight
Yeah.
was, because he's so in his thoughts. And
And I also think that
oops,
because I do know that there's that Rob was playing Edward as this like brooding character, and I remember like he almost got fired because
Yeah.
they wanted him to be like more happy. There is a lot of times in here where he is happy, but
Yeah.
like there's a lot of times where he's like struggling internally, that I think that Rob kind of hit the nail on the head about that.
Oh yeah, I think he did too.
Well,
Like
because
it's
this was partially written when they were filming Twilight.
Yeah, I think
So,
there's an interview where Rob actually said that Stephanie gave him the like rough draft that she had already started.
yeah. So I mean I can see why he would play him like that,
Yeah.
because I mean there's a lot of it, like a lot of the of the
Oh,
chapters where he's just like brooding is what, the
yeah.
correct term for it is.
Yeah. I will say I'm very kind of, sad because it's like it ends with him leaving to go to Alaska. But he
Yeah.
doesn't say goodbye to Esme.
I know.
I was like, Edward, not Esme.
Did he even tell Carlisle? He did, right? Or no?
I
It doesn't
I
show us, but here it says you should tell Carlisle yourself.
yeah, I think he was
It
I think it,
implies that he
it
did.
yeah, it implies that he went to the hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So then we get to chapter 2, open book. This is where he was in Denali.
We get our we get only Tanya, but we
Tanya,
get
but
some Denali
she was
content.
out for him.
She was Miss Tanya, the original succubus.
I know. So basically he gets to Denali. It's cold. He hears Tanya because Tanya had followed him. I think he was like about to leave or something. He had already been there for like 6 days, right?
Yeah.
When we first get to the chapter. And I did in this of the first part of this is Tanya like trying to make a move.
Yeah. Oh, I have a little tab here because it's like when she does the whole like sprint and then she like lands in the snow and like all the snow like gets on him. I was like, okay, that was cute.
The cannonball.
Yeah. I thought that was a cute scene.
That is cute. When the snow was on him, she goes, "Sorry," she murmured. It was a joke. And he goes, "I know. It was funny." He has such a dry sense of humor, but I love it.
I know.
I love it so much.
Oh, and poor Tanya, she, because Tanya was kind of like his shadow, and like I guess Urana and Kate had told her like you need to like cut it out. You are literally all over him, trying, and
Yeah.
because she had a little crush on him and all that. And then she said she thinks it's her fault that he's leaving. I thought it was cute how he says like you're 1,000 times lovelier than the stars, Tanya, but you already knew that.
I was
And
about to say that because I love that line.
yeah, and then the whole "don't let my stubbornness undermine your confidence." Like, we love. Okay, that little kiss she tried to get.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Nope.
Did not work. He kissed her cheek.
And she tried to turn her head, but oof.
Did not. She tried to do a fast one. And then it says he says my rejection bothered her more than she'd let on before, even in her thoughts. She wouldn't want to see me again before I left. So she was like, nah, she was like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever, like bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he leaves Denali.
Comes back to Forks.
Comes back to Forks, like they're in less than an hour, right? And they're all at the house waiting for him. Probably because Alice saw that he was coming back.
Yeah.
She was probably like, okay, Edward's gonna be here in like 5 minutes. Let's all wait for him.
So they go back to school. They're at lunch, and he's kind of wondering. He kind of becomes anxious at wondering what Bella thought because he can't read her thoughts. Oh, that was another thing that we didn't say was he was so confused in chapter 1. Like, why can't he read her mind?
Oh yeah,
And
he could not. He was just like, what the heck?
So he is trying to like figure out through other people's minds like what she thought of him. And that's when like and we kind of see that when Alice warns him like she's coming in, try to look human.
Yeah, and also it's so funny because he was like he really thought he traumatized Bella. He was like.
And then can we appreciate the Emmett content we get? Because it's like,
I love it.
Alice says, try to look human. And he's like, human, you say? And then he does the most unhuman thing. You know, the snowball and just throws it. And it's like, dude, you're strong. But my favorite part was when Rosalie said, very human, Emmett, why don't you punch through a wall while you're at it? And he's like, it'll look more impressive if you did it, gorgeous. And I put, what a simp. We love it. That was one of my favorite Emmett Rosalie moments right there.
I love the Emmett content we get in this book.
I literally have, I think, its own tab. Oh yeah, that color tab is literally Emmett being an icon because we get so much.
We do get a lot. And then Emmett told him, you look sick, brother mine.
Oh my god, I cannot with Emmett.
Emmett is just the comic relief that we needed.
Yes, and then it's all like, you know, he's like, let me see, he didn't like monitoring through Mike's thoughts and then all that, and then Alice again is just like act human, she's going to look, and Emmett just casually says, ease up, Edward, honestly, so you kill one human, that's hardly the end of the world.
Yeah. And Edward's just like, he's over it.
Oh, and because Alice put a like snowball on his head, and he goes like that, shakes his head,
and she says, "Ew." And I think this is where we get our first little glimpse at Bella, like not really thinking about herself, because she says like, "Does he look angry?" Because she was really worried that she had done something to make him angry, and that carries the theme throughout the entire book because it's always like, "I'm sorry." Like, or, you know, never really thinking about her, like, I guess, thoughts or emotions, you know?
Yeah, and I think Bella got, especially with, before this came out, Bella was always the one that got kind of like a lot of heat on, especially like Tumblr and just the fandom in general, saying she's too boring, she doesn't have any thoughts and all this, and it's like, well, Bella, and I used to think the same. Like, I used to think the same because I was always more fascinated by, like, Rosalie and Alice and all them. So it's like, reading this, and especially, like, after the past 2 years, it's kind of like, no, Bella just doesn't put herself before others, and she doesn't think of herself as someone with, like, who deserves that attention.
Yeah. And she's like, very selfless.
Oh, that's why we go hard for Bella in this house.
Yeah, and then everyone leaves the cafeteria, and Alice tells him, like, you're gonna do fine. Like, your mind is set. You're gonna make it through. And then they end up going to, he goes to biology. And this is where they talk again for the first time. And in this part, I was literally imagining the movie because I was just like, wow, like, when they start talking, and just the way that he describes her is just like otherworldly. I think because I told my brother that when I finished reading the book, I cried, and he was like, "Why'd you cry?" And I was like, "I can't even explain it." And he was like, "Oh, it's he said it was oh my god, what did he say? He said it was not heartbreaking. It was
heartwarming?
No, what did he say? Let me call him. Brother! I'm gonna bribe him. Come here.
What?
Can you tell me what you had said the book was? It was what?
Heart-stopping.
Oh, heart-stopping.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. It was heart-stopping.
I love that. That just explains. That's it. That explains everything.
Okay, bye, brother.
Bye.
Yeah, so he was like, it was heart stopping, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, it was heart stopping.
I think
But
you just did something right there.
and the way that he just describes it is just the way that Edward just describes everything to me is very heart stopping.
This book made me fall so much in love with Bella.
Yeah.
The way he describes her.
Yeah,
when we get to that, I'm gonna cry.
And then I really love that through this, of him reading everyone's thoughts and everyone calling her Isabella and her telling them like it's Bella. He already knew to say Bella Swan. She was like, "Why did you say like how do you know my name?"
Oh.
And then he asked her like she said, "I mean, why did you call me Bella?" And he's like, "Do you prefer Isabella?" And she was like, "No, I like Bella." But she was just like, "What the heck? Like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know to call me Bella?"
I know.
And then we get the iconic like pro face. Do you mind if I check? Like I said.
Oh, this was so cute.
So cute. I caught myself a lot of times during this book, like while reading, like smiling and being like, "Why are you?"
I know. Oh, I was too. And then I put OMG adorable at the ladies first partner. I'm like, why are you so cute and awkward?
Oh, and then I love the part where the Mr. Banner comes over and it was like, oh, like it's a group project because Edward wrote it down and he was like, oh, well, she did like the majority of it, right? And he was like, I was just the scribe or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, and then we get the did you get contacts?
Oh yeah, look. Mr. Banner approached her table. Didn't you think Isabella should get a chance with the microscope? And he corrected him, Bella. Actually, she identified 3 of the 5. And then that's when Bella said that she's done the lab before. Oh, and this part was so funny. She's like, you don't like the cold, I guess? And she said, or the wet. And he goes, well, it must be difficult for you to live here. And then he goes, perhaps you should not have come here. I wanted to add, perhaps you should go back where you belong.
I was like, damn, okay.
He was really like, not about it.
Oh.
Why did you come here then? And then they have that whole biology scene that we see in the movie. And nothing's really different than that. Like, I guess from that travels over, like, just, I guess, the way that he describes certain things. But yeah, we get that iconic biology scene. And then she gives him a little sass. And she's like, why does it matter to you?
Yeah. I love sassy Bella.
Love sass. She's so sassy.
I love... She a Virgo queen.
She is. And then she kind of hints a little bit like, you must be a good reader then. And he was like, usually. But he like, oh, I just loved it.
And then it just ends out. They go to the next class. He calls himself a
but then
again.
she like tosses her hair. And then he gets that like, that burning thing again. And he stopped breathing. I always imagine because he stopped breathing. He said he stopped breathing and leaned away. So I could just imagine him like, and her being like, "What are you doing?" Like,
oh my god, I would literally be like, "Are you on drugs?"
I know. And yeah, so then we just get this scene. Actually, they go to Spanish. And Emmett is in Spanish. It's on page 46.
Let's see.
It was a memory, right?
Yeah, he talks about because Emmett has had that happen to him twice, where the blood was just too appealing. So
yeah,
we get a little glimpse into Emmett's head about the time he,
yeah, and then Emmett is a Spanish king. Or no, Edward is. He says, "Perdóname." Oh my gosh, I love that.
Can we get more of Edward speaking Spanish, please and thank you?
I know. And then the teacher tells him, Emmett, por favor, puedes ayudar a tu hermano. So like, please go help your brother. And Emmett was just like, sure. Like, I could just imagine him like, okay, like, I guess. Oh my goodness. And it was interesting too when they talked about Emmett's like the 2 times that Emmett like had a good smells. He smelled apples.
It just it kind of like I think it's kind of cool how they have like a specific scent, and it's like, you know, they don't have their sense of taste anymore, so it's all like it's cool how like they know they, because I wouldn't imagine like they really could identify that. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like the blood tastes the same as what it's smelling like.
Yeah. So then Edward had that the reason that Edward left was because the Edward, because of Emmett's like memory of it, and it was too explicit for Edward. So that's why he jumped up and the teacher was like, are you good? And then he left. And then Emmett was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then he ditches school, I think, right?
He
Or
sits
no,
in his car and
he
waits.
sits in his car, but he's listening to Mike's thoughts.
Everybody is all like, you know, all the guys who were like, oh, I can have a chance with this new girl, are like, Cullen is all of a sudden interested, and then all the girls who are swooning over Edward are like, this new girl caught his attention.
Yeah. Then he sits in his car, drowns, and puts violent music. I put in a CD of violent music. I just want to know what the violent music was. Like, I can just imagine Edward sitting in his car listening to like screamo or like something very like something very crazy. He's sitting in this car with music playing. It's probably, I think it's like raining or like sprinkling or something. I think it said that. And then she turns and just sees Edward in his car, like sitting in his car, like being a creep.
Oh my god, why is he so creepy?
It says, this is my favorite part. Of this chapter. She stayed into her rearview mirror, her mouth hanging open, so she was like,
the amount of money I would pay to get this scene reenacted. Oh, OC, can you reenact this scene?
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes, please. If anyone from the OC is listening, please recreate this scene. And then let's see. The other car had pulled past her. She checked all her blind spots. He was so like, he thought it was so funny that she was like really cautious of driving. He thought that it was a thought that it was as though she thought that she was dangerous in her truck, and that made him laugh. And so he was just sitting in his car laughing at Bella. Oh my goodness.
I cannot with this man.
I can't. Okay, chapter 3 is he hunts because he was like, okay, well, I'm not thirsty, but he wants to trying to like overdo it so that he could not, there was no possibility that he could
I just gotta say this is the first time that as we're reading, it took 50 pages of us reading this to finally get Dr. Daddy in the picture.
Oh yes, Dr. Daddy. So then Edward wants to leave, right? And and Carlisle was just, I guess, trying to navigate that.
Oh yeah, because it's like it says, no, that wouldn't stop me if I make my, like, he says, yeah, of course we'll come with you, of course, if that's what you need, and they won't berate you for this. And Edward raises an eyebrow, like, really?
And he's like, Rosalie might,
but she owes you, because, and I think, and a lot of, I got a question about this, about what was it that Carlisle meant that Rosalie owes you. And I think when we get into when we get a glimpse going back into Rosalie's backstory and how her and Emmett, I think that's what it's referring to. It's like she owes Edward for for that.
Yeah.
Because at first it was just, you know, I think it's like Carlisle had to be the one to kind of like decide whether or not someone would come into the coven, like if they were to save, and
she kind of like, not, I guess, forced it upon, right?
Yeah, and
But
because it's like Edward was the first, so it was just Edward and Carlisle. So it's like kind of like, okay, you're gonna bring this person into our family now, and yeah, maybe that's what it was.
yeah, maybe. Or it could also be like maybe I mean she did go on a revenge spree. And so
Yeah.
maybe it has to do something with that. Like maybe he
Maybe he covered up the tracks.
yeah, something.
Mm.
But yeah, okay. And yeah, so then basically in the beginning of this chapter we just see Carlisle and Edward talking and Edward's like, well, I should leave, and he's like, but you're not, and he was like, well, I should, but and and Edward was like, I want to leave, but something was just like he could not even explain why he could not like why he couldn't bring himself to like peace out.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I love this part too. It's on page 53. One more day, I decided I would see her one more time. I could handle that, and then he would disappear.
Yeah. Oh,
That's so sad.
it's like I think this is where I remember I like reading this part and all this and seeing Edward. It's like I remember Stephanie Meyer said something. She was like, "I recommend reading Breaking Dawn after Midnight Sun because it will remind you that Edward was happy. Like he finally did find happiness and he wasn't
Oh,
like sad."
yes, and then also this part where Alice was like, "You're gonna leave again," and then but she like could not see where he was going, and then she says, "And think of Esme. Would you take half her family away in one blow?" Or no, I think Edward
Oh,
says that.
yeah, Edward
Um,
says that.
because Alice suggested that her and Jasper would go, and I love that they call Jasper Jazz. I love it so much. I love it.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. And then Alex tells him you're going to make her so unhappy. And she's talking about Esme.
Yeah.
Oh, Esme loves Edward so much. And
I know.
we see that later on in one of the other chapters that when we get to it. But she loves Edward so much because that was her first like
Yeah.
son, right?
Yeah. Edward, yeah, because it was Edward and then it was Esme, and so like Esme, I think Esme even said in Twilight like she loves them all as her own. I might have a little bit of bias toward Edward because he was my first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then okay, so this part when Alice is showing him visions, and then but it was Edward was explaining it about like it was just all like blurry and vague, and there was like just a whole bunch of changing. And she said, your life seems to be at a crossroads, like something's changing. And he was like, you sound like a carnival fortune teller on page 54. And
Oh
then it
my.
says that she stuck out her tiny tongue at me, so I can just imagine her being like, like.
She's that meme of that cat. Like
Yes.
I love it. That's I need to put a tab there when I
I love
have a
that.
chance. Oh,
So then they go to school again, and then this is where he talks about her character a little bit. He said, I added this to my small list. She was a serious person, a responsible person, um, because I guess he started having a list. But this was also the road was covered with ice, so he was. Is this where he saves her from the truck? Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
yes, this is the
Oh my gosh. I
oh,
loved having this in his perspective.
yes.
So we get to that. She was getting something from her bag or something. And then Alice said no. I guess because she had the vision, right?
Yes, yeah,
And
she had just seen it happening and
oh
yeah.
my goodness. And then obviously Edward can read her mind. And then he said, not her, the words started in my head as if they belonged to someone else. Like, oh my gosh. Like, he was like, I cannot. Also, I mean, not to mention that if he did not save her, and I think he mentions it later, like, if he did not save her and her blood would be all over the parking lot and
Yeah.
he would have like not, you know.
It would have been over.
So then he saves Bella, and the way that he described the car crash was so much more intense than the way that Bella
Yes.
described the car crash.
I know. Hers is all like, oh, there it goes. And his is all like,
Yeah, and I really like that about this book because so like he talks about things sometimes and it seems like a long time, but then you remember that like it's literally just like happening in like a couple minutes and or seconds. But there's just the amount of detail he puts into it makes it seem like it's taking forever, like it's going in slow mo.
yeah.
Um, so then her head thumps against the ice. All these things happen. Yeah, this like it's so intense. He's like, I caught it under the frame with my right hand. What I felt I wrapped my left arm around her waist and dragged her body from underneath the tire.
Oh my god. This was so intense. And then can we just, oh my god, when it's like he's worried and then he goes a little like, and then he kind of like chuckles when she says ow, that she hit her head, and then all of a sudden it's like when she says, as soon as she says, how did you get over to me so fast, he just went so serious. I could just imagine he just has like the smile from laughing, then all of a sudden oh my god, I thought it was so funny how he's like, stay put down, and she's like, but it's cold, and he's like, this girl nearly got crushed by a car and all she can think about is the cold.
The cold. That the ground was cold. She was super like set. He was like, I was right next to you, and she was like, no, you were not.
He's trying to I mean he is trying to kind of gaslight her in order to think that what she
but
saw
then
didn't
he
happen.
does this, and when I read this, I was like my heart fluttered. It said, "Please, Bella," and suddenly he wanted her trust.
Ambulance pulls up, and then the EMT recognizes Edward as Carlisle's kid, and then we get our first glimpse at Chief Charlie Swan.
Yes. Is this when he gets to the hospital, or he gets there?
He gets to the school.
He gets to the school, yeah.
Yeah, he had pulled up on scene because it's like, he's responding.
I wish we kind of got that in this context.
Yeah.
Because I would have just loved to see like Charlie like skirting into the parking lot and getting out and be like, Bella, like
that would have been so good.
And then there being like a crowd and everyone being like, oh my god. And then him just like pushing through the crowd like, Bella.
Yes. And then Carlisle, they get to the hospital. Carlisle and Edward, like immediately Edward goes to Carlisle so that he can tell him like, I messed up. And and Carlisle is just like, it's okay. You had to do what you do. And I'm like, Father of the
I
Year.
know. I always love the hospital scene, even in Twilight. I love it more than the one in the movie because everyone was waiting in the lobby. There was like the entire school was in the lobby, and I was like, oh, I love that.
I wish we got that. I like this interaction really much. This I wish we saw in the movie with how Tyler is all like, oh my god, I'm so sorry and all this. I mean, we kind of get that, but then I wanted to see his reaction to Edward because we didn't see Edward until after she like leaves.
Yeah, and then I think this is where he kind of realizes that Bella was going to like kind of stick to her word because he asked her how she got out of the way, and she was like, well, Edward pulled me out, and he was like, what the heck? Like, Edward Cullen, he was standing right next to me, and he was like, Cullen, huh, that's weird, I didn't see him, I could have sworn. Wow, it was all so fast. I guess, is he okay? I think so, he's somewhere, but they didn't make him use a stretcher. And then that Tyler was like thinking, she's pretty. Even all messed up. Not my usual type still. I should take her out, makeup for today. Which is a little hint to something that happens at the end of the book.
That was so funny.
So funny.
Carlisle comes in, does
all the things.
And I thought it was funny how Bella is just so annoyed that Edward is not in a stretcher with the neck brace and all that, and she is there hooked up, and it's like, how?
Oh, this little part, he tells her, so what's the verdict? I asked her, and her lower lip pushed out a little. There's nothing wrong with me at all, but they won't let me go. How come you aren't strapped to a gurney like the rest of us?
Yes.
It's all about who you know. I said lightly, but don't worry, I came to bring you. In Twilight, I love when Bella describes Carlisle. She's like,
Ah!
what the heck?
Yeah, and then he even says that like her eyes went wide and her mouth fell open again, so we get the like, oh my
Carlisle
god,
walking her and be like, excuse me.
that's your father? No, see that. If I saw that, like, if I'm talking to this dude and he goes, my father, and then his father comes in and his father's, I'm gonna be like, do you need a stepmom?
I know, right? Look, so this part he says, can I go back to school? Maybe you should take it easy. And then she looks at Edward. Does he get to go to school? And then Edward goes, someone had to spread the news that we survived. So this is already where we're kind of seeing their like relationship dynamic, and I love it.
Yes, and that's why I wish like these are the moments that we should have got in Twilight, because it's like I think the main criticism that the movie got was it was too fast and too serious, and it's all like these moments show their relationship.
It does, and then that's when Carlisle tells her, well, like, actually, the majority of the school seems to be in the waiting room. And she's like, oh no, like, I would have been like, can y'all take me out like some other way? And then the ending of it, I memorized your face one last time. It was still set in lines of anger, the blood not yet faded from her cheeks, and then I turned and walked away from her. Because this was the last time he was planning on seeing her, right? Because he was like, one more day. Like, I'm just going to see her one more day and I'm going to peace out.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. I had to like go through chapter 4 because chapter 4 probably is one of my favorite chapters because this is because I just want to say before we get into this chapter 4 completely was different than the draft, because the one thing that we're gonna see at like when, because chapter 4 basically is like when they have that meeting after Edward gets home. Like,
I love that. Yes. I love it.
That was not in the draft. That was a whole, like, when I read this, I was like, oh, I thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, I really love that. I wish we got things like this in the movie. Okay, when I was done reading it, I had this little epiphany after the crying that I kind of would have preferred for this to be the first book that came out rather than Twilight, because we see, I think I love Twilight. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But I feel like we get a whole nother like version of the events. And I feel like I feel like maybe more people would have liked Twilight the movie if they would have taken account in Edward's perspective and showed us things from this perspective.
I know.
Because they still could have like done things where they showed Bella's point, like Bella getting to Forks and and all that. They could have done that, but then like I just wish we got more of the Cullen family.
Yeah. Oh, it just, and like this chapter is exactly what you said, because it's like this would have been.
That's what we're missing, and I think also I would have liked Midnight Sun, maybe not as a movie, but as a TV series.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I can't. Like, each chapter is like an episode or something. I don't know, but
oh hell yeah! Like they could do that in one. They could do that in one season.
Yeah, for real, and then maybe just make it a one season thing. But I would have loved to see a lot of these things from their perspective in the movie. Like, there's one specific scene later on, when they're trying to get to the ballet studio that I'm like, we needed this.
I cannot wait till we get to that part.
He calls himself a stalker. He's an obsessed vampire stalker.
I could not. When I read this, I was like, oh, so you say.
Yeah. And then
an obsessed vampire stalker.
He's listening to her conversations, right? That's why he calls himself this vampire stalker.
I think, yeah, so let me see. Oh no, he called himself a stalker because it like he was resist because Bella was sent home. Like she didn't go
Oh
back
yeah,
to
yeah,
school.
yeah.
He did. So he kind of was having this urge to go see her again. And then that's when like a lot of people who were back at the school and like the teachers were wondering how. And then this is where he is with Emmett at he's with Emmett in their Spanish class, and
Hmm.
that's when Emmett lets it slip of what Rosalie and Jasper were planning to do.
Oh, because they were pissed.
They were pissed and they were all like, okay, this girl is risking our family. She's making you do things out of the ordinary. And they were gonna go and they were gonna kill Bella.
Yeah, we'll see. And then I think that's why I wish we would have gotten this version of events, at least for this part, because in the movie it happens at the end of the day, but then in the book it happens at the very like beginning of school. So we don't ever see like any of this, and I'm just like, why? Like I need I need Emmett in Spanish class content is what I'm really trying to say.
Yes.
I
Oh,
like
and
just Emmett there saying like biblioteca or like something stupid. Like Emmett would just make a joke out of it, and I just love it.
oh my god, yes, and uh,
He
and
tells
then
him, and Emmett tells him, "Damn kid, you're a mess."
yeah. And he says, "Bite me." Oh my god.
I guess Edward was mad. Like he was gonna go. Was he gonna go like argue with them or fight them or something?
I think he was. I think as soon as he read it in Emmett's thoughts, because Emmett let it slip, he was about to like go find them, and he was, I guess, gripping the desk so hard that
Yes, I love
yeah,
that part where he's like gripping the oh
yeah,
where he said that he knew that his fingers left an indentation like in the desk.
yeah.
Um
And let me see. So, and because it says, he's like, yes, I would fight for her against my family, and he's really contemplating having to fight his siblings, and it's all like he knows he's like Esme would not side against me, but she would have like okay, well Carlisle would not want them to fight at all.
yeah.
Esme could understand where Edward's coming from, but she also wouldn't want them to fight. Alice probably doesn't like. She's just gonna, she's gonna know,
Yeah.
and it's like I think he was worried that he was gonna have to fight Emmett because Emmett's gonna stand up for Rose. So, and I think that's what made him not want to do it. Is he
Yeah.
like him and Emmett have just this connection, and it's all like,
And I love also that Rosalie was just shouting in her mind.
oh my god, I have that tab. Rose thinking of every insult is hilarious.
Idiot, lunatic, moron, jackass, selfish, irresponsible fool is what she said. Oh my goodness. She was, yeah, her and Jasper would probably be more like, they would, well, very clear, they were more affected, I guess, like, personal, like, they kind of took this personally. They were like, why would he do that?
Yeah. And it's like, Rosalie was more set on doing it because it's all like for the whole family. Whereas, and Jasper kind of was just like, he fears that having it with Bella is gonna, like, having an interaction with Bella or like having her involved will, like, Alice will get hurt. He was more worried about Alice getting hurt.
Yeah. So then they get home and they all went straight to the dining room.
No, that was the most hilarious part. Is they all went straight to the dining room. Carlisle and Esme are already there, and they just sit, in like respected spots.
Yeah. And then I love that the first thing Esme told them was stay. Oh my goodness. Esme's just hitting it hard with the emotions. So Rosalie sat directly across from Carlisle, and then she glared at him. She glared at Edward, never looking away. Emmett sat beside her. Jasper was standing behind Rosalie, on a wall behind Rosalie. They're all just like, I can just imagine this scene, like.
What? I want to draw this. I want to just draw like stick figures and be like, okay, Rosalie's here, Carlisle, and then I'm gonna put Jasper question mark. Why
Jasper.
like
And then Alice went and sat next to Esme. They were the neutrals in the situation.
yeah.
And she rubbed her head like she had a forehead, like she had a headache. She's like, "Oh my gosh, like what's about to happen?" Edward just says sorry. He was just like, "I'm sorry." Oh, he tells him that I was planning to leave before this happened, and that he was gonna go right now, but only if he believed that she was safe and that no one was gonna touch her.
Yeah.
And Esme says, "No, no, Edward." He patted her hand. It's just a few years.
And then it's like Alice, she can't tell, and then freaking Rosalie just smacks her head on the table, which I thought was funny. It's like we can't allow the human a chance to say anything. And and then it's all like Edward's like, we've left with rumors.
Yeah. And she was like, "Well, she has evidence." But and Jasper was just there nodding. He was just like, "Yep." Like
I was like, Jasper, why are you here if you're not gonna put your 2 cents in?
I know.
You're just gonna stand there like nodding your head. Ooh,
That's
ooh, and then freaking, Rosalie's talking about how she would do it. Like she would just do an injury to the head, like so when
yeah.
she falls asleep. And then freaking Edward goes, "Yes, Rosalie, we all know how proficient an assassin you are." And I'm all like, when I read that, I was like, bitch, first of all, you have to apply that to yourself too.
And then she said, "I was no longer worried about Rose. I could see that she would go along with Carlisle's decision." But Jasper was unmoved, even though Jasper has not said one word in this entire thing. But then he does. He says, "Jasper, he met my gaze. She won't pay for my mistakes. I won't allow that." So I guess Jasper was like that Alice would be in danger because of this.
That's what it was. He was more scared Bella would talk and Alice would,
Yeah.
that's what he was worried about.
And he tells him, "I won't allow you to hurt Isabella Swan." And then she tells him, "I know you love me, thanks, but but I would really appreciate if you didn't try to kill Bella. First of all, Edward's quite serious and I don't want you two fighting. Secondly, she's my friend. At least she's going to be." This is where she gets the vision that there, I guess, is some sort of at least solid vision for the future, because so far everything's been pretty blurry and vague.
Yeah.
And so this is like the first rock solid vision that we get. And Jasper's like, "But Alice, what?" He's like, "I wanted to kill her."
Yeah.
And then she tells him, "I'm going to love her someday, Jazz. I'll be very put out with you if you don't let her be." Oh, I love that.
That really made me cry right there when I first read it. She's like, "I'm going to love her someday," even though I kind of, ship Alice and Bella, but like, I really.
So then Alice had art. I guess Alice, Alice has the ability to let Edward see what she wants to see, or what she wants him to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like during the, I guess I don't want to. I guess I'll bring it up, but on their way to the ballet studio, she was like, they were going back and forth between the 30 seconds ahead of the like the road, the traffic, and then sometimes it would slip to what's happening in the ballet studio. So she can control what vision she's seeing, which I think is cool because we don't really see her powers like that ever in the series. Like we can never see the full extent of her abilities or any of them, because Jasper too has some like hidden things that even Edward didn't know that he could do.
Yeah. Oh my god, when we get to the baseball scene, that real okay. I'm gonna get real mad because it's all like, I have thoughts with Jasper because of the background he has, and then it's like he pulls this shit, and I'm like, why did you do this?
Yeah. So, she tells him, this is where we first like, okay, like Alice is like, "I told you there was something like a change happening, because I guess Edward's mind was decided before he had even really knew that it was decided.
Yeah.
And she was really trying to concentrate on not letting him see what she was seeing. But she let it slip for a second. And Edward said, nope, not about it. And then everyone, it's so funny because they're having this interaction and everyone around them is like, no idea what's going on. They're just there.
And when we get to that part, because it's like Emmett literally has no idea what's happening, and he's the only one that voices it.
He said that's so annoying. But basically, yeah. So then, Edward's like, this is not gonna happen, and she's like, well, it's like every minute you're more decided. She tells him. And then she was like, there's only two ways. It's one or the other. And then I love, they're having this conversation. Edward's the only one speaking out loud. Alice is communicating him with her mind. And everyone is just sitting there like, do y'all know what's going on?
Like, what are these cryptic tweets, honestly? Because it's like, he says, love her too? And everybody's like, wait a moment, pause. Because she's like, are you so blind? Like, do you not understand, like, what this may have? And finally, it's like, Edmund has enough. And he's like, come on. And Rosalie, because, Rosalie, she is observant. She can put pieces together. And it's like, pay attention. Alice sees him falling for a human. How classically Edward. And
she made a gagging sound.
And then Emmett just erupts in laughter.
Oh my god.
And he's like, oh man, sorry, that sucks.
He tells him tough break, Edward.
Oh, and then Esme is just like, you fall in love with her?
Oh.
And Jasper's like, hold up, what is happening, Alice?
So it says it all depends on whether he's strong enough. Either he'll kill her himself, which would really irritate me, Edward, not to mention what it would do to you, or she'll be one of us someday. And then someone gasped, but she didn't look to see who. But who do you know who that was? I feel like I low-key feel, I want it to be Emmett, like Emmett just being there like
I feel like Esme is the most obvious, but I think Emmett would make it more.
Esme would gasp like, oh my gosh, yay. But then I could just imagine Emmett, like, she says that she's either gonna die, like Edward's gonna kill her, or she's gonna be one of us. And Emmett going, like, so taken back.
Please, if they ever were to make this into a show, have whoever plays Emmett gasp.
And then oh my goodness.
So I think Jasper was all like, okay, either she's gonna die or she's gonna be one of us. And I think he was, which honestly, this kind of brings me to a thing I saw on Tumblr just a couple days ago, because I kind of have been going back on like Tumblr to like see what's been going on. And someone brought up, like, they felt that the voting in New Moon should have been switched, where Rosalie said yes and Jasper said no, because it's like, Rosalie obviously wants her family to be protected and she's a liability, so it's like, why wouldn't Rosalie want her changed? And then Jasper would say no, because it's like, do you see how I am? Do you want to be like this toward people you love? So, but then it's like, obviously in here we see that it's not, it's the same how in New Moon, like, he was like, okay, if she's changed, it's gonna be fine.
Edward starts listing off the reasons why I would not be good. He said worst, Alice's confidence, Jasper's confidence in that confidence. Worst of all, Esme's joy. So I guess the gasp would probably be Esme, like, oh my goodness. But then I just wanted to be Emmett.
I know. What if it's Esme and Emmett?
They both stopped and looked at each other like
I know Emmett watches The Bachelor with Esme.
Oh, 100%. Emmett.
You gave her that rose.
I know. So
and then his dramatic self just leaves the house. Let's just what?
And it was so sad because he leaves and Esme reached for his hand, but he didn't acknowledge it. Like, why you gotta do that?
Stop hurting my queen.
I know.
Kind of just ends with he's in his thoughts. He's kind of like, I think this is when he kind of starts going with the decision where he kind of has to accept that he's gonna have, like, there's a possibility this can happen. And I think that's when, like, it starts to, like, that's when he starts nonstop thinking about her.
Yeah.
But then he also, again, he kind of, like, thinks about killing her again because he's like, but it's like he couldn't stand to see it, but he totally can see it happening.
Jasper should have just taken one for the team and turned Bella.
Honestly, I mean, which honestly, you know, I'm surprised. You know what would have been spicy is if in Twilight there was that scene, because literally Jasper and Bella were left alone at one point. Like, they were left alone for at one point, and I'm just so like, okay, if Jasper thought it was best for Bella to be turned, then why didn't we get like a
I feel
spicy?
like they should have turned her in Phoenix.
I know.
Like, they were in the whole. I like Alice had even said at some point, like, I will do it myself. Like, you'll forgive me one day. Like,
yeah. Oh my god. Okay, I gotta ask, have you read Life and Death?
no. I was waiting because I wanted to finish this first.
Okay, good. I think that was a good idea because honestly, like, Life and Death, I know a lot of people thought it was like they didn't need it, but and I kind of was the same because it's kind of like the first like half of it is Twilight, like, exactly, but then it's like I really enjoyed Life and Death, and I will say, not to spoil it, but envision if Bella left the airport 5 minutes than what she had originally did.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sets the mood for what we find out. So
Yeah.
I definitely recommend Life and Death.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna read that. And it's a smaller book, so
Yeah.
I'll get to that as soon as possible because I'm already done with Midnight Sun. So then we get to chapter 5. Chapter 5, he goes to school and he says another brooding moment from Edward Cullen. He said it's no longer purgatory, that high school is now purely hell. Torment and fire.
Oh, I just realized, I just looked. This is a long chapter. Like, this, it's from page 87 to 116. Like, this is a long chapter.
It is. And then we have the blood type right after. I love that one. Okay, so what happens in this chapter? There's so much. I feel like a lot of it is brooding because...
Oh, yeah. This mainly... Oh, this is... Wait, no. Let me see. Because this is a long chapter, but it's mainly him and his thoughts. Oh! Bella just... Because he's been ignoring her. And then she ignores him, and he's kind of like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, hello, Edward. And then, she just doesn't, like, look at him after that. And he's kind of like, huh. And he kind of feels pain while avoiding her.
Oh, so here it says that literally a month passed with them not talking.
Oh, yeah. And then,
except for when there was one day that they, that she had said hi to him.
Oh, and this is where we get a kind of another glimpse at Bella and her personality and how she is, because it's all like, it says, had Bella noticed that Tara was usually ostracized by the rest of the class, I could imagine no reason besides kindness for reaching out to her, especially with Bella's shyness. So Bella, we see that Bella's like that person who she went out of her way to make sure, like, Tara, who she probably knew wasn't that great wasn't going to be much help, at least was okay and tried. And
and then I also like here that another time that they're sitting at the cafeteria table and they're talking about Eric brings up Comic-Con and they all make fun of him, and then Bella's like, no, like, that's cool, I want to go too. And then all of them are like, what? And Edward's like, wow, like he was seeing how selfless she was in those moments.
And that makes me want to cry because that was the cutest. Oh my god.
And Eric in his mind says Comic-Con with Bella even better than Comic-Con alone.
Oh.
I love that.
I like, hold on. This was definitely like where I think I started to fall in love with Bella, was how he described her, because it's like that whole month that they were avoiding each other, we didn't see what was going on. Bella doesn't, she's very cryptic. She doesn't look at herself as someone of value and as important. So it's like she's not gonna constantly like talk about herself and like what she does.
But yeah, and then literally it talked about how Eric started planning this Comic-Con and Bella was like helping and she wasn't like being mean like the other ones were. And here on page 92 he says Bella was good. All the other things added up to that whole: kind and self-effacing and unselfish and brave. She was good though. She was good through and through. And no one seemed to be aware of that besides him, besides me, besides Edward.
And then I think and then it's like page 92 is basically just him hating Mike Newton.
Oh yeah, because he said that in Mike's mind, Mike was creating this like version of Bella that didn't exist. Yeah. And he hated Mike for that. At some point he also calls him a golden retriever. And I had made I made a video that was like, oh guys, there's gonna be a recast of Twilight. Like, look at who's like the recast is. And for Mike Newton, I put a picture of a golden retriever. Oh. Yeah. So then, for a good part of the pages, he's just talking about how he did not like Mike. They go to they're at the cafeteria table, and then Alice tells him Bella's going to stare at Edward in a minute. And that he paid attention to how often she looked in his direction. It pleased him. And then Alice just sighed. I wish. Alice was just waiting for him to make a move. So then we have here that Mike was gonna ask Bella on a date.
And he was like, no.
Yeah, he did not like that at all. And then Edward here was like pissed that Mike would even like consider asking.
Jessica did not deserve a friend like Bella. Bella really watched out for her and like was
100%. But yeah, so she told him like, you should tell her yes. And then Mike was like, oh, sad about it.
Yeah, and I'm like, geez, and I would have been like, if he's gonna look that sad over it, I would have been like, you know what? Just don't even give her that. Just don't do that to her.
Yeah. And then we get the whole like, oh, well, like, are you gonna go to dance with anyone? She was like, nope, I'm going to Seattle. And then so this was a different dance than prom at the end, right?
Yeah, this was it was like a Sadie's where girls ask guys.
Yeah.
Which is why Bella was like, it's girls ask guys and you're asking me to go.
Mm-hmm. So then basically it's just like the whole Mike and Bella conversation about why she's not going to prom, or not to prom, but to the dance. Mike was at the table while Edward was there, right? Like he pulled up a chair. Yeah. And was like talking. Oh my god. I was
like, Mike.
Oh my goodness.
God, the monster again. What if I'm a monster?
I know, that is Edward.
I don't even like Gabby Hanna, but that song that should be like the theme of this book.
So this is where he talks to her, and then he just starts being his little like brooding self, like, I'm being rude, but it's better this way. And she's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Oh, and then one of my favorite Emmett moments is when Emmett and Edward are leaving Spanish at the end of the day to go to the car, and it's like freaking he says, "Wait for the others here, all right?" And Emmett goes, "Kid's lost his damn mind."
Yeah. So Bella was out of the gym. This is when Eric asked her to the dance.
Oh god, this is the part where he cuts her off in the parking lot.
Yes. So then she goes into there's like a line to get out, right? But then Edward's like blocking something because he wanted to see Tyler ask her and wanted to see her reaction, right?
Yeah.
So he blocks her in so she can't leave. And Tyler's in his car, like parked behind Bella, right?
Yeah.
And got out of his car. So she's in between Edward and Tyler's car. And she thought that he was getting down maybe because she was like stuck. She was like, "Oh, sorry, like I'm stuck behind Cullen." And then he was like, "I know, I just wanted to ask you something. We were trapped here." And then he asked her to the dance. Edward was laughing, and Emmett was like, "What is so funny?" And
Rosalie's pissed.
She saw him laughing, right? Like in the mirror.
Yeah.
And he was just like on his way home, he was chuckling because he was just thinking of Bella's face.
And then Alice is just like, "Can I
talk to Bella now?
Can I talk to Bella?" And he's like, "No." Ew, and this is when he like watches her sleep for the first time.
It is. And yeah, he sees her room.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
He was like, "Well, I mean, what are human rules to me?" And he was like, "Well, I don't really follow rules." He was just planning on staying outside until he started thinking about spiders, right?
Yeah. The freaking spider.
So his whole reasoning for watching her sleep was because he was like, "Well, she's so clumsy that like she's gonna get herself into something, right? But then also like, he was like, what if a meteor like crushed her, like hit her house, or like what if there's a spider?" And he heard the spider crawl out, right? Or he was already in her room at that time. Oh, he was already in her room at the time.
Yeah, I think he was already in.
And oh, this is when she was sleeping.
Yeah, and
she was talking. She wasn't talking to her mom. He was sleeping.
No, she was sleep talking, and then it's like he was about to leave, and then she said his name.
Yes, and he was like, "Okay, well, there's a spider." He identified what kind of spider it was, and then so then he said this. He said, "Because I could kill every spider in her home, cut the thorns off every rosebud she might touch one day, block every speeding car that got within a mile of her, but there was no task I could perform that would make me something other than what I was. I stared at my white stone hand, so grotesquely inhuman, and despaired." So he was disgusted with himself, but he could not stop watching her.
You're just dreaming about Edward. I mean, don't we all?
And then, so then she said his name, and he was frozen. He was so like, "What the heck, did she see me?" And then she said his name again, and then he was like, "She was dreaming of me." And then he said, I love this part, "Could a dead, frozen heart beat again? It felt as though mine was about to." I cry. Oh my goodness. This is for sure one of the parts, like, even though he's like in her room and watching her sleep, but he said this, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then in her dream, she said, "Stay." She sighed, don't go. Please don't go." And then she was like, she was dreaming of me, and it wasn't even a nightmare. She wanted me to stay with her there in her dream. And he said that when he researched, he was not the same man he had been.
I know. Oh.
I can't. It's so romantic, but also like he's in her room. Oh my goodness. Oh, and this is where he says it. He says it on page 110. "I loved her, and so I would be strong enough to..." I would try to be strong enough to leave her. I knew I wasn't that strong now. I would work on that one. Perhaps I was strong enough to circumvent the future in another way. My goodness.
I was so upset. And then it's like, he's like, she deserved better, but I saw one more future, one thin wire that I might be able to walk if I could keep my balance. Could I do it? Be with her and leave her human? And it's like, I mean, Edward, buddy, you're immortal. If you want to be with her, how, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes his logic, but then.
So then, he goes home and changes really quickly. Got to school. Everyone was already at school. And then Bella had got to school. And this is where he walks up to her, right? Her truck keys slip, and then he, like, gets them for her.
Yeah.
And she's like, how did you do that? And she was angry, and he was like, do what? And then, is this the part where he jokes with her about asking her to the dance?
Yeah, with the dance, and then with the whole, I wanted to go to Seattle with you.
Oh yeah, she tells him, she was like, so why the traffic jam? And he was like, that was for Tyler. He's like, I had to give him his chance. And she was so mad. She was like, you, and oh, where's the part? He tells her, Bella, you are utterly absurd. And
and then it's like, he asked her to, for a ride to Seattle, and then he starts coming at the truck, and she's so offended by it. It's like, can your truck make it there and want to take a gas? And she's like, I don't see how it's business. And he's like, the wasting of finite resources is everyone's business. I'm like, okay, I didn't know you were, you cared about burning fossil fuels.
I know. And then, so this is when she was like, fine then, what do you want to ask? And he goes, I was wondering if a week from Saturday, she was like so shocked, the day of the spring dance. And she's like, are you trying to be funny? And that's when he asked her to go to Seattle, right? Yeah. And they were just talking about the truck. And then she was like, I can't keep up with you, dude. Like, this is like a part like in the movie where she's like, you're giving me whiplash, right?
Hold on, what'd you say? I got so excited my things came out.
That this, like in the movie, this would have been the part where she was like, your mood swings are giving me whiplash.
Yes! And it's like, he's like, I thought you didn't want to, she's like, I thought you didn't want to be my friend. He's like, it would be best. And then he's like, but then I'm trying to stay away. I'm tired of trying to stay away from you, Bella. And then he says again, will you go to Seattle? And she's like, I guess so. She not. And he's like, you really should stay away from me. Like, bro, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
I cannot with him.
And then they're like, okay, he's like, okay, well, I'll see you in class. After just telling her, like, you really should stay away from me. And then be like, okay, see you later. Okay, guys. So, Rhea and I are coming to you hours after we have finished recording our very long analysis of Midnight Suns chapters 1 through 10. And we realized that this review on Midnight Sun was just going to be too long to try to fit into 1 week, and we wanted to kind of stretch it out through the weeks. So instead of giving you guys 3 parts of episode 8, we're going to end up doing every 10 chapters as their own episode. So, next episode will be on January 25th, and those will be chapters 11 through 20 of Midnight Sun, and then our episode 10 will end up being 21 to the end.
Yes.
Just, I'm going to throw it in as a little disclaimer that this episode might end up being split into 2 parts that will be posted this week. And I'm going to end up putting that at the beginning as a little disclaimer if it happens, but we'll see because I'm still editing. With that being said,
We hope you enjoy it. We're sorry if the technical difficulties and all this, but just know, just think of it this way: lots of Midnight Sun content.
Yes, for like at least the next 3 episodes, we will have Midnight Sun content.
Midnight Sun content.
So
Okay.
we hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye.